Welcome back to another fight prediction. This time the card is Bellator 192 Lima versus Macdonald. This is a pretty stacked card featuring stars, former champions, current champions, and potential future stars and future champions. And now let's get into the fight predictions. In our first fight of the main card, we have Aaron Pico facing Shane Crutchin. And as we all know, Aaron Pico was touted to be this next big star. He was doing very well in the international scene of wrestling. He had a decent amateur background in boxing, so you know he was a pretty well-rounded and gifted fighter, very young. But I guess he jumped out too quick into the scene and suffered his first loss in his first fight via submission and upset. But he quickly rebounded and got a nice knockout win. It was impressive, but I saw holes in his game. I saw he had decent power, decent technique in his stand-up, but he seemed like he was very open and very timid. It's like his defense wasn't the greatest. Head movement wasn't really there. His punches had gaps to be countered in. But I guess he'll fix those holes as the game improves. But I think in this fight, if he utilizes wrestling, which is probably his best skill set, his best tools, best weapon, I'll see him getting this fight out of the way via second round TKO. On to our next fight. In our next fight, we have Georgi Karahanyan versus Henry Corrales in the featherweight division. This is a pretty crossroads style matchup. As both fighters have similar kind of careers in Bellator. I think Henry Corrales is more new on the scene, whereas Georgi Karahanyan has been in Bellator for, I think, maybe even twice as many years as Henry Corrales, as far as I know. They both have looked great outside of not fighting former champions in the division or future prospects, or rising prospects, and they pretty much lost to the same exact people. Maybe beat a little bit different people, but I think Georgi Karahanyan has performed better against the top competition, like the champions, whereas Henry Corrales has more so got finished by those champions. I think this fight, Henry Corrales might be have the more weight on him in this fight because he's more muscularly built in this fight. I think he has more power in his punches. But I think Georgi Karahanyan has a grappling advantage, and I think that's where Henry Corrales has lost more often than not. He's been losing via submission. And I think where Georgi Karahanyan has the advantage, so I see Georgi Karahanyan winning this fight. It won't be easy. It'll definitely be tough. It might even go down to a split decision, with it going to the judges, nobody knowing who could win or either fighter could win based on the judges' decision. But I see Georgi Karahanyan via a late submission in the third round after a war of a fight. In our next matchup of the night, we have Michael Chandler facing Goiti Yamauchi in the lightweight division. A very interesting style matchup. Goiti Yamauchi is a nice young prospect, only 25 years old, just turned 25, at the start of this year. Great ground game, good bottom submissions and jiu-jitsu, good from the top. Decent build for the weight class, so he can grow over time or become a bigger lightweight, or if he wants to potentially go up, maybe he could do that later in his career. And Michael Chandler, a former champion, so much talent, good striking, good wrestling, good strength, good speed, good power, a lot of good attributes in a pretty solid resume, I would say. I think Goiti Yamauchi, at least from what I've seen, he's pretty much good everywhere, but I see that you definitely could probably get the better of his striking. I think Michael Chandler will be the better striker in this match. I'm not saying Goiti Yamauchi is a bad striker. I'm more saying that Michael Chandler is a pretty good striker as far as MMA is concerned. And I think Michael Chandler could get the better of him from the grappling because he's a wrestler, a very good wrestler. And you could take him down and take him where the fight wants to go. And Bubba Jenkins was able to negate a lot of his grappling from the bottom not from the bottom, but by being on top of him and having good top control. He was able to negate a lot of Goiti Yamauchi's submission attempts. And I think Michael Chandler is a far greater MMA wrestler than Bubba Jenkins is. And being a former champion and fighting high-level talent, I think Michael Chandler will be able to pretty much do the same with him and either get a finish in this fight, or whether it be on the feet or on the ground. And I think he'll be able to dictate where the fight is the whole fight, whether he wants to take it down or make it a striking match. He'll be able to dictate where the fight is. And I see Michael Chandler getting this fight out of the way in a second round TKO. In our next fight, we have Quentin Rampage Jackson facing Chael Sonnen in the heavyweight division, the first fight of the Bellator Heavyweight Grand Prix. And as some of y'all may know or may not know, Quentin Rampage Jackson is my favorite fighter, period. So I might be a little biased, I'm just letting y'all know. So let's get into the prediction. We have Chael Sonnen, you know what he likes to do. He likes to come straight at you, pressure you with some strikes, then going for blast double legs and trying to rough you up with his grappling. And he likes to take you down and ground and pound you. He's not much of really a finisher, but he could definitely lay on you for a good amount of rounds. His sub-defense has always been questionable. The most questionable thing of his career is his sub-defense, and the second may following maybe his heart. So in this fight, we know what he's going to do. He wants to clinch. He wants to get you down and ground and pound you for 3 rounds, and get a submission if it presents itself. And Quentin Rampage Jackson, his motivation has been there and not been there a lot for the past 10 years, or maybe it's been more not there than there, as we all know. Everyone in the MMA community or watching MMA pretty much knows this. But Rampage has always had pretty solid takedown defense, heavy hands, not the most accurate striker, but pretty good defense on the feet, especially as far as MMA is concerned. He could defend very well on the field, whereas a lot of MMA fighters have suspect defense and get hit with clean shots very often. Whether his takedown defense will be there is we don't know. He's always been kind of slow to get up from the ground. Like when he gets taken down, he's not really going to be explosive to get back to his feet. He has decent defense on the ground. He's been taken down by a lot of high-level fighters, and they haven't really been able to do much to him there. But as far as him getting back to his feet, that takes some time. So you don't really need to finish him on the ground just to get a win. So if somebody take him down, he can't get up. That's still winning the fight. So that's still the same essence as him getting finished, but well, not the same essence. No, don't look as bad, but it definitely could easily have him losing the fight if he gets taken out and not be able to get up or spends too much time on his back. So this fight, and also Chael Sonnen, let's talk more about this fight. Chael Sonnen hasn't been looking as great as either. I think a lot of these UFC fighters, once they left UFC, they kind of let themselves go. I know Chael Sonnen did an announcing job for announcing in ESPN for a while, probably a good maybe 3 or 4 years, maybe as long as GSP's been out, and he's older than GSP, and maybe he's not taking his testosterone and performance enhancers as much because he definitely doesn't look like the old Chael. Rampage definitely doesn't look like the old Rampage. It's a more, so who has more left in him than the other? I think Rampage has fought the heavier fighter. Chael Sonnen has been more of a middleweight. Never was really a great light heavyweight. So it's like, it comes down to just who has more left in the fight, who has something that can actually win them this fight. So this fight, I see, I'm gonna go biased. I'm gonna say Rampage will be able to defend. Chael Sonnen is wrestling enough. He'll probably still get taken down for sure because Chael Sonnen is going to get a takedown. He might win a round, but I see Rampage being able to eventually stop Chael Sonnen's takedown. Probably get some underhooks, knee him in the body. They cause Chael Sonnen to curl up, hit him with some they hit it with some punches, drop him, then finish with a TKO in the first round. And in this fight, so I had Rampage winning this fight via first round TKO, not knockout. In our main event of the night, we have Douglas Lima defending his welterweight title against Rory Macdonald. This is a great match. I know a lot of people, maybe if they more so watch the UFC or maybe kind of belittle Bellator, they might say, Rory Macdonald's going to destroy this guy. He could do whatever he wants with him. He was one of the top fighters in UFC, so this guy had no chance with him. But I would say on the contrary, nah. And you might even be able to say, look what Ben Askren did to him. But Rory Macdonald is no Ben Askren as far as grappling goes. He's not no 2-time, 3-time. I think Ben Askren at least 2 or 3-time NCAA champion. He's not that. He's not like a pure, like his style doesn't really revolve on grappling purely as much as Ben Askren. His takedowns, his top control is not as great as Ben Askren as far as the wrestling style aspects of it. So he's not necessarily going to be able to do that to Douglas Lima off the bat. And then on the feet, I say Douglas Lima might even be more deadly than Rory Macdonald. I see Douglas Lima is probably the much bigger welterweight. Well, not much bigger, but quite a significant bit bigger than Roy McDonald. I see the range of his strikes being bigger than Roy McDonald. I see him hitting harder than Roy McDonald. But I think Roy McDonald has the better jab. He's fought in the better people. He has the better experience against top competition. And I say he's had the more real well-rounded game. I see this fight being kind of even to start. There's gonna be some scares for both fighters to start, and it's probably gonna at least be towards the middle or end of the second round before any fighter starts pulling away with the fight. I think it's gonna be a fill-out portion to this fight. I think Roy McDonald's gonna have to gain respect on the feet, like gain significant respect on the feet, that he can secure a takedown and start widening the gap between the two fighters, and maybe wear him out with some ground to pound and some submission attempts to set up transitions. Because Roy McDonald's like a pretty much very high level skill fighter. He'll set up transitions with submissions so he can potentially carry like very dominant position on the ground, whether it be like the mount or the back mount, and to try to attack submissions. But I see in this fight, I see Roy McDonald pulling this fight out. It will be a very highly contested fight, highly back and forth fight. But I see Roy McDonald getting the better of this fight. He might lose the first round, he might lose the second round, or he might win in one round, lose the next round. But eventually I see him being able to secure advantageous positions, and that's where he'll start to widen the gap. Eventually he'll be able to secure a submission in the second or third round. Well, I'm gonna go with third round and win via submission. So in the main event, I have Roy McDonald via third round submission. And that completes my fight predictions for Bellator, this Bellator card, Bellator 192. And thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and come back for more fight predictions and other kind of videos.